It's a very rare thing when a book is able to achieve such high acclaim, such massive popularity that you would be hard pressed to find an individual that had never heard of it. This week I am reading The Shining by Stephen King, perhaps his most popular work. This book has really entered the public zeitgeist. The story of a haunted hotel that is infiltrating the mind of a family that is charged with taking care of it during the winter. I have not read this book, even though Stephen King is my favorite author. I have not seen the very popular and very successful Stanley Kubrick movie, and I'm so excited to get this book on my mind. I'm excited to see what I'm thinking about as I'm reading through the pages. And as a bonus, this is also the first book I will be reading along with my book club. Me and my friend started a book club a few weeks ago, and The Shining by Stephen King is the first book we are studying. Welcome to the reading vlog. Jack Torrance is a recovering alcoholic with an anger issue. He is the main POV character of The Shining. I'm about 160 pages in, and Jack Torrance is very clearly the antagonistic force in this story. Stephen King spoils that. I've not seen The Shining movie. I have not read the book. But The Shining, we all know the scene. Where's Johnny? The dad going crazy. That hasn't happened yet. I'm surprised by how sympathetic of a character Jack Torrance is because yes, he's an angry alcoholic with a troubled history, but he's trying his best. And Stephen King does a very good job at showing how much Jack cares and loves his family, cares for and loves his family, but showing how alcoholism and his mental illness and his issues are something that he's having a difficult time beating. I already know what's going to happen towards the end of this book because Stephen King doesn't even just foreshadow. He doesn't just even like hint at it. He basically tells you Jack's gonna go crazy if things don't change, if the timeline isn't fixed. So I'm just waiting for that to happen. But right now, I don't care for the characters very much. The magic system or the supernatural elements in this book, I don't quite understand yet, but I'll get some more context later. Tomorrow, Thanksgiving, I'm going to spend time with the family, but I'm going to try to get a lot of reading done. But yes, I'm trying to get enough of The Shining finished before my book club meets about this book on Saturday. I was born in Las Vegas, and that is the tourist capital of the Western United States, perhaps the United States as a whole. I know hotels. My city bleeds tourism. Tourism is its lifeblood. So I find the setting of a dark, enchanted, possibly haunted hotel to be very intriguing. One thing the characters keep saying throughout the first part of this book is every hotel has its ghost. Every hotel has the skeletons in their closets. Every hotel has their share of tragedies. And boy, is that true. I've had friends that are hotel managers, and they tell me all the crazy, heinous things they see on the day to day. They all have a treasure trove of horrible, scary stories to share. And they're legally obligated not to share them. There are so many sketchy things happening in hotels in Las Vegas that our news stations have an unofficial a lot like agreement with the hotels to not publish all the suicides, all the crazy things that happen in the hotels because they are afraid of it damaging our city's reputation. So the Overlook Hotel, where The Shining takes place, is very compelling. It's very compelling and engaging to me because I know that hotels have crazy things happening in them all the time. And the Overlook Hotel, the things that have happened, pale in comparison to many things that have happened in hotels in Las Vegas. So that's one thing I find very funny. I don't think the Overlook Hotel has anything on any of the hotels in Las Vegas that have been here for more than 15 years. But this book is still pretty scary. The setting is still very eerie. And I love the dynamic of the hotel entering, forcing itself into the minds of Jack Townsend primarily and the rest of his family. Very compelling stuff. Friday, part 4 of The Shining complete. Just over 130 pages left. The book club that me and my friend started 3 weeks ago, we have our first meeting tomorrow, and we are discussing The Shining up through part 4, and I'm quite excited. We have a Discord chat, and we're talking about how Jack Torrance is a despicable character, but we don't hate him. And I think the reason why we don't hate him just right off the bat, like we don't just automatically hate this abusive alcoholic individual, is because me and my friends, all four of us in this book club, have suffered some of the consequences, some of the fallout of a very close loved one or friend, a family member dealing with a drug addiction or a substance abuse issue of some sort. And Stephen King, because Stephen King was a drug addict for several decades of his career, does a very good job at portraying and depicting substance abuse and the mindset that comes along with being an addict, and how even though you could quit the habit, you could hop on the wagon, you're still suffering from the issue that made you turn to the substance abuse in the first place. Jack Torrance is despicable. He is unlikable. He is not a good guy. But he does love his family, and he's doing his best to try to change. So neither me or my friends hate Jack Torrance. We feel great empathy for him. But if you're a troubled, damaged individual, love is not enough for your family. Your family deserves a lot more than love, because you could love somebody and ruin their life. You could love somebody and put them through incomprehensible pain and sorrow. And Jack Torrance, he is really a tragic figure. He is spiraling out of control. His wife knows it. His son knows it. But because they love him, they won't abandon him. And that's really, Stephen King did a very good job at just capturing why one person's mental illness can really destroy a family. And I'm interested to see what my friends are talking about when we discuss The Shining tomorrow, because I don't think The Shining is really a horror story. It's a tragic story. It's a tragedy. It really is. I haven't been scared this entire read, but I am filled with dread. And I see the train wreck coming. And I need to see how it goes. But yes, this is by far the most literary book from Stephen King I've read. Incredibly thought-provoking. At times it is triggering, but I think if you are an individual who experienced the negative effects of someone in your circle, your close circle, like suffering from substance abuse, this could be a very therapeutic, thought-provoking, or triggering read. Take your pick. Saturday, just got done with my first book club meeting, and it was really good fun. Book clubs are awesome. Me and my friends just spoke for over an hour about The Shining, and it's just nice to have friends that read. It was also one of my friend's first Stephen King books, so that was kind of cool to be there as he takes his first steps, as we kind of initiate him into the, constant reader fandom. It was really nice. The Shining, all my friends had very similar feelings. Like, yes, it's very clearly a metaphor for alcoholism and trauma, and how, those things have a carryover into your family life, and how that can cause reverberations and ripples throughout your entire lineage. Like, a lot of The Shining is about how Jack and Wendy, their childhoods are really affecting the way they parent Danny. And even though Danny is completely innocent of the things in their past, he can't escape the fallout. And that's just kind of how it is. Bad things will happen to your family before you are even born that are going to have a monumental effect on your upbringing and the person you become. And The Shining is a very good, expose, case study about that phenomenon, about that reality that many of us face. So yes, this is a very good Stephen King book to read. Very literary. I was hoping to finish it before November for my wrap-up. I'm going to be wrapping up October and November together because I just fell behind. Got my mother-in-law in town. That's a little bit of a distraction. A good distraction, but a distraction nonetheless. But let's see how the ending of The Shining goes. Sunday, I finished The Shining. What did I think of it? I loved it. I will say the first half of it is a little bit slow. Not a lot of things are happening. They're walking around a hotel. Things are preparing to get creepy. But the last 20% of this book really picks up speed. I loved it. great climax, great emotional highs and lows, and amazing falling action. Stephen King gets a lot of like hate, a lot of criticism because people say that he doesn't end books well. And I disagree with that. I could get reading The Stand and being like Stephen King sucks at ending books, but I will say, of all the endings I've read from King, I would say The Stand and The Institute are probably the least inspiring. But every other book I've read from him, the ending's pretty dang good. And The Shining had a damn near perfect ending. Beautiful falling action. I love a nice, drawn out, bittersweet falling action following a very anxiety inducing, tense climax of a story. The Shining, great climax. Jack Torrance, interesting, multifaceted character. Yes, he had a lot of negative attributes, but he was a loving father and he was a tragic figure. And I really loved the character arcs of this story. I love where the characters are at the end. And all the characters grow immensely, immensely, let me tell you. I do think this will be the last Stephen King book I read for 2024, but 2025, Stephen King's going to be a major focus. I've read 2 Stephen King books, back-to-back weeks. Finished The Stand last week, finished The Shining, 2 of his most popular works. And now I'm not so much of a hipster Stephen King fan. I've always read his works that weren't as popular, weren't as well known, because I was like, well, I could always get to his most popular works once I'm a more, experienced, constant reader. And I do think I went about it the right way because I could better appreciate these books because new Stephen King, the Stephen King of the last 25 years, he is a better writer. But there's just something unhinged, something special, something brutal about Stephen King's earlier works before the turn of the millennia. And yeah, I'm really digging old Stephen King. So yes, I wonder what the next Stephen King book I'm going to read is. But right now, I'm okay with finishing, I think, 5 Stephen King books this year. That's a good that's a good amount of King books. This week was a pretty good reading week. Only finished 1 book, but I did get to talk about it in a book club. It was nice to read this book along with other people, nice to bounce ideas off of each other, and I understand why a lot of Stephen King fans consider The Shining to be his best novel. This, Misery, 11/22/63, The Stand, those are common answers for his best books. Most Stephen King constant readers consider his Dark Tower series to be his magnus opus. And I'll get to those next year. I will surely get to those next year. Thank you guys for watching this reading vlog where I read and I think about things. And I'll talk to you guys next time.